Audio test testing 1 2 3. Audio test testing 1 2 3. Good morning, everyone. Fernando Campos, Executive Officer for today, Wednesday, April 26, 2023. Thank you, everyone, for being so patient with us this morning. For item number 1 will be presented by David Kopp, and also support Karen Ingala. Item number 2 will be Patrick Schmidt. Item 3, Patrick Schmidt. Item 4, Wee Tran. Item 5, John Park and Mary Benson and the team. Item 6, Leo Dominguez. Item 7, I do not have a presenter for item 7. If there is no presenter, we will ask for a one-week continuation on item number 7. Item number 8, no presenter required. And item number 9, there will be a request to continue the item to Wednesday, May 24th, 2023. For those Bureau representatives that are on the line, thank you so much for joining us this morning. Should the board have any questions for you, we will go ahead and open up those audio lines for you. Again, this is for Alfredo Magaña, Stephen Fierce, Abram Tejeda, Eddie Chavez, and George Spindola. Thank you all for joining us this morning. I'm just going to quickly do an audio check on Zoom. George Spindola, if you can just open your mic just to confirm if you can hear us. Let's try Eddie Chavez. Good morning, Eddie. If you can please unmute your microphone, if you can please confirm that you can hear us. Let's try this one more time. George, good morning to you. George, are you able to hear us through Zoom?
Yes, Dr. Campos, I'm able to hear you guys.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Again, Bureau representatives, thank you so much for being here this morning. If you have any questions, should the board have any questions for you, we will open up those audio lines. Again, this is for Alfredo Magaña, Stephen Fierce, Abram Tejeda, Eddie Chavez, and George Spindola. At this time, we will go ahead and identify any callers on the line who would like to provide general public comment or commentary on any of the items for today's agenda. If you can please raise your hand at this time by pressing *9, or if you're joining us through the Zoom application, there's a raise hand icon located at the lower right-hand side of your screen. You can go ahead and click raise hand at this time. If you're joining us live here in person at City Hall, there are speaker cards located at the back end of the room. You can go ahead and fill that out and submit that to me as soon as possible. Again, this is for members of the general public that would like to provide general public comment or commentary on any of the items for today's agenda. If you can please raise your hand at this time by pressing *9, click the raise hand icon, or submit your speaker card if you are here live in person at City Hall. Seeing no hands raised, President Garcia, we have all commissioners in the room, and we can get started with the recording.
Yes, please.
President Garcia, we are now in record mode.
Great, thank you very much. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the regularly scheduled meeting for the Board of Public Works for Wednesday, April 26, 2023. Dr. Campos?
Good morning, everyone. Again, Fernando Campos, Executive Officer, establishing roll call and quorum. This morning, we have President Garcia, Vice President Villegas, President Pro Tem Davis, and Commissioners Corzan and Reyes. President Garcia, you do have a quorum. President Garcia, at this time, we do not have any callers under general public comment. We also do not have any callers for, we do not have any comments on any of the items for today's agenda, and no commentary on the Neighborhood Council comments section. In addition to that, President Garcia, there's been a request to continue item number 9 until Wednesday, May 24th, 2023, if there's no objections from your board. Again, this is item number 9, which is the City Trees status update from the Bureau of Street Services. The request is to continue it to Wednesday, May 24th, 2023.
Any objections? Seeing none, item number 9 will be continued to May 24, 2023.
Thank you.
Great. Given that there is no public comment is now officially closed. Moving on to the approval of the minutes of Wednesday, April 5th, 2022 2023. Is there a second to my motion to approve this item?
Second.
Thank you, VP Villegas. Dr. Campos, there's a first by me and a second by Vice President Villegas to approve the minutes of Wednesday, April 5th, 2023.
Absolutely. We'll start the voting tabulation now. We'll start with you, President Garcia,
Aye.
Vice President Villegas,
Aye.
President Pro Tem Davis,
Aye.
Commissioner Corzan,
Aye.
and Commissioner Reyes.
Aye.
This motion is adopted and carries unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Welcome, everybody. Good morning to a very nice and bright sunny Wednesday. It is also Administrative Day, so if any of your administrators out there in your bureaus or in your departments, please make sure to thank them today. It is Administrative Day. And also for many of you who are wondering why we are wearing jeans, we are observing Denim Day today, so many of us throughout City Hall, you will see with jeans on today. Not that we're being casual, we're just, observing Denim Day today. So thank you, everyone, for being here. Our apologies for starting a little bit late. We were having some meetings in the background, so I just want to make sure that everybody understand that we're just kicking it off now. And with that said, I will start off with item number 1. This is a request from Bureau of Engineering in Council District 11 for a budget increase in Hyperion Water Reclamation Plan Perimeter Road Improvement Project CIP 2447, recommending the board to authorize $350,000 in additional contingency and approve a revised construction budget of $7,136,150 for the Hyperion Water Reclamation Plant Perimeter Road Improvements Project. And this morning here we have Mr. Kopp. How are you?
Good morning.
Good
Thank
morning,
you.
sir. Welcome.
David Kopp, Bureau of Engineering, Environmental Engineering Division. This authority request concerns an ongoing project that's replacing roughly a half-mile of road that is at the boundary between Hyperion Water Reclamation Plant on the east side and the western border of the city of El Segundo, directly adjacent east of Hyperion. This contract was awarded, the construction contract, to 4DC back in October 22nd, 2021. The award amount of $6.463 million with a contingency of $323,150. The scope not only includes replacement of the road itself, but there's a significant foundation component to the construction. This is on the crest of an existing hill that has a significantly high amount of sandy soil. And so the foundation was designed as such where we could use vibratory installation of sheet piles followed by a concrete grade beam, and then the road on top, followed by appropriate fall protection measures, security fencing, and erosion control. And while no current change order at this time, closed out, ongoing, or future, individually exceed the city engineer's authority of $150,000, the totality of those change orders require your board's authority to increase the construction budget for the project. These can be categorized roughly in 3 categories, the first of which will be for various unforeseens along the course of the work, previously and ongoing and anticipated. They range from minor soil stabilization over the course of the work. We are in sandy conditions, so this is not uncommon for projects of this nature. Removal of additional undocumented abandoned utilities. So when we design our project, we go off existing record drawings, and sometimes there are differences between the two. So we've navigated through those safely. And then with the neighboring Scattergood generating facility operated by the Department of Water Power, we access the project through that area. That's the most cost-effective way for the contractor and the safest way for the contractor to access the project and do the work. And as such, we had to implement additional protection measures for existing infrastructure that's passed through in this area and ultimately lands at the Scattergood generating facility. And so we implemented those over the course of the work as well. The second category involves the vibratory methods for installing the sheet piles. As I had previously mentioned, during the time of design, we did anticipate the need for vibration monitoring and some mitigation measures. However, what was anticipated versus actual, there was a little bit of a difference there. And as a result, we had to do additional visits to nearby residents to monitor the vibrations and the sound at their property lines, as well as within the limits of the construction footprint. And from there, we received some recommendations to implement additional vibration and sound mitigation measures. For vibration mitigation, one of the things we did was add dampening materials between the sheet piles that interlock to reduce the vibrations. Additionally, we brought on board giant sound blankets that were hung by cranes, and they're depicted in the associated board report. So we more than doubled our efforts to mitigate sound measures, and we increased our community outreach to our neighbors in El Segundo. And over the course of the holidays, since this work extended into the fall and winter of 2022, we did not want to disturb the residents as we finished the piles. So we called off the crews during the holidays so that, of course, the neighbors and their visiting relatives, for example, did not have to hear that when the holidays, over the course of the holidays. And as a result, there was a minor time impact associated with that, which is the third category of the impacts to the project budget. So in addition to the unforeseens, as well as the additional community impacts mitigation, there is an additional time extension component, increasing the contract duration. Right now, we are at about 85% complete, anticipate to complete by the end of July or sooner. Now that we're behind what we call the wet season, we're able to pick up some time by working extended shifts and do some of the work over the weekends at no additional cost to the city, so we can pick up some time and complete as anticipated. And so with the magnitude of work still ahead of us for the coming months, we do anticipate the need for some additional contingency, and that's captured in the change orders and unforeseens itemized in the board report. So to summarize, with the additional $350,000 in contingency requested by your board, that would bring the total requested contingency to $673,153 for a total revised construction budget of $7,136,180. That concludes the staff report.
Thank you so much, Mr. Cobb, for that report. Also, thank you for including the pictures in the board report. I appreciate that. Any questions, colleagues? I see Vice President Villegas with her light on, and Dr. Davis. We'll start with you, VP Villegas. Oh, okay, VP Villegas.
Just a quick question. Thanks for your report, Mr. Cobb. The additional work the additional funding that's needed to finish off this project, they'll do any additional measures to provide some, I guess, comfort or alleviation of noise and vibration to the residents?
Yeah, so in addition to monitoring, we did visit residents' homes to observe this personally, the construction managers, as well as some noise and vibration specialists, the contractor as well. And in addition to that, there were some residents that were relocated temporarily, and we offered that across the board to any residents that were complaining about noise.
Okay, thank you. And so then the rest of this work, will it be shared with the city of El Segundo? Do they need any additional permits?
At this point, all the permits are in hand.
Okay.
And the foundation work, as far as the piles, they have been concluded as of early February. Now we're above ground, so to speak, much less noisy work, much less visibility as well. So we're well underway with pouring the concrete grade beam. Followed that, we'll be putting in the fence, protection measures, erosion control, and the final paving of the road.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Cobb, for that answer. That I really appreciate that you're being sensitive to the neighbors of City of El Segundo. Commissioner Reyes?
So in terms of outreach, with the progress on this project, do we share that on like a newsletter or flyers or forums that we conduct within the neighborhood?
Yes, the Bureau of Engineering coordinates with LA Sanitation's Public Outreach and Public Affairs Officer to disseminate updates on pretty much a weekly basis at this point. And in addition to that, I present construction updates with folks at Hyperion to residents and city officials with the City of El Segundo, typically on a quarterly basis. And so we're very transparent in terms of the progress of the work and what's anticipated in the coming weeks. For example, how we've propose to work on the weekends to pick up some time, we make sure that the residents are notified of where we're going to be, what those impacts may be, if any, to noise or visibility. At this point, it's very minor, as I indicated. Everything's above ground at this point, and we seek their approvals before doing any work outside of the normal core construction hours.
That's comforting to know. Thank you.
Agreed. Thank you very much, Commissioner Reyes. That was my question on whether we have been able to notify our neighbors of what the work you're doing and how it's impacting or not impacting, in other words. Thank you. I don't see any other questions from the colleagues. Any objections? Is there a motion on the table to move item number 1 forward and forthwith?
So moved.
Thank you, Vice President Villegas. Is there a second? Thank you, Dr. Davis. Dr. Campos, there's a first by VP Villegas and a second by Dr. Davis to move item number 1 forward and forthwith.
Absolutely. Let's start the voting tabulation. We'll start with you, Madam Chair.
Aye.
Vice President Villegas.
Aye.
President Pro Tem Davis.
Aye.
Commissioner Corzan.
Aye.
And Commissioner Reyes.
Aye.
This motion is adopted and carries unanimous.
Great. Thank you very much, Mr. Cobb. Look forward to getting this work done.
Thank you.
Have a good rest of the day. Moving on to item number 2, this is a request in Council District 12 for construction order, Clark Contracting Corporation, emergency pre-qualified on-call geotechnical structural construction services list, Balboa Boulevard Bulkhead Project, recommending the board to, 1, approve a construction order for the Balboa Boulevard Bulkhead Project to Clark Contracting Corporation in the amount of $608,084, with not to exceed a limit of $799,700, including contingency. And 2, authorize the president or 2 members of the board to execute the construction order after approval as to form has been obtained from the City of Los Angeles attorney. And this morning, we have Mr. Smith here. How are you, sir?
Good, thank you. Good morning, everyone. Patrick Schmidt, Bureau of Engineering, Geotechnical Engineering Division. And as President Garcia just said, this board report is for the award of the Balboa Project, bulkhead project near the address of 12,000 North Balboa Boulevard. We want to award this project to a contractor on our emergency pre-qualified on-call geotechnical structural contractors list. At this location along Balboa Boulevard, we had an erosion event occur, erosional gully developed during the severe storms of last year. This site's located about 3/4 of a mile north of the intersection of Balboa Boulevard and the Ronald Reagan 118 freeway in Granada Hills. The erosion gully severely undermined a portion of the sidewalk, an existing timber retaining structure, a metal guardrail post, and also removed lateral support from the upper 6 feet of a Los Angeles Department of Water power pole. In addition, significant rain events in January and February of this year worsened the erosion in the area and caused approximately 50 linear feet of the sidewalk to collapse. So we do want to move forward with this project, construct a new bulkhead to restore lateral support to the roadway and to the sidewalk. The new bulkhead will be about 88 feet in length and approximately 9 feet in height overall, and will consist of 12 soldier piles with precast concrete lagging panels. In addition, of course, we will replace the concrete sidewalk, handrail, and curb. On February 16th of 2023, bids were solicited for this project. The all-call list in accordance with the executed contracts. On March 15th, 2023, 3 bids were received at the board. Clark Contracting Corporation submitted a bid of $608,084. This was 12.86% below the city engineer's estimate of $697,810. So staff is recommending that the board execute a construction order for the project with Clark in the amount of $608,084 with a not-to-exceed limit of $729,700, which includes some contingency. Funding for the project in the amount of $811,000 will be transferred into account per council file number 220906. And that concludes this report. I'm available for any questions. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Smith. The total amount is 608, and I just heard you say there will be a total of $800,000 transferred. There's a delta of 200. What is the intention of that? Those
The
200.
council motion was done back in August of last year, so at that time, we didn't have a good cost estimate for the project.
Okay,
So when the motion went through, we were estimating around 811,000. That's what the motion is set up for, and that's what the CL is currently working on, getting the funds transferred. I understand it's going to be part of the fifth construction progress report very soon.
okay. And I also noticed that it's 12, Clark came in 12% under the estimate. That's good.
That's good, yes.
Very good to hear and see. Okay, colleagues, any questions on this item? I see Commissioner Corson with his light on.
Thank you. President Garcia asked one of the questions I was going to ask. The second, this was August 2022, and you just mentioned the recent storms. Is there been a cost analysis yet on what the impact of the recent storms would be in the project?
No, the sidewalk was already undermined, so we did include in our scope of work the scope of work includes replacing the sidewalk, so there's no additional work associated with that. We are anticipating, though, the potential for one change order. Already we're anticipating possibility for one change order. During the design, LADWP went out and moved their power pole. And where they relocated the power pole to, we're going to have to make some modifications to the design during construction to accommodate the new location. So we do anticipate a potential increase in costs associated with that.
Thank you. Any other questions, colleagues? Seeing none, is there a motion on the table to move item number 2 forward and forthwith?
So moved.
Thank you, Dr. Davis. Is there a second? Thank you, VP Villegas. Dr. Campos, there's a first by Dr. Davis and a second by Vice President Villegas to approve item number 2.
Absolutely. Let's start the voting tabulation. We'll start with you, President Garcia.
Aye.
Vice President Villegas. President Pro Tem Davis.
Aye.
Commissioner Corzan.
Aye.
And Commissioner Reyes.
Aye.
This motion is adopted and carries unanimous. Thank you.
And we'll do this forthwith.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I read that it was urgent. This is an urgent matter, and we need to take care of it right away.
This is an urgent matter, and we do have some other emergencies coming from the most recent storms in January and February, which will be back.
Okay, we look forward to hearing those. Thank you. Thank you so much. Have a great rest of the day.
I'm not going anywhere yet.
Oh, that's right. You're here for the second one. You are collecting today, Mr. Smith.
I appreciate the time.
That's your job. Moving on to item number 3, this is a joint report within the Bureau of Engineering and the Bureau of Contract Administration in all council districts. This is a request for qualifications, emergency on-call list, geotechnical structural construction services, recommending the board to 1, authorize the city engineer to advertise the issue the transmitted RFQ for the purpose of establishing a new list of pre-qualified on-call contractors for urgent necessity and emergency geotechnical structural construction services for various Department of Public Works projects. 2, authorize the staff from the Department of Public Works to evaluate and pre-qualify the respondents based upon the requirements and procedures set forth in the RFQ. 3, authorize the city engineer to negotiate a construction contract with each of the highest-rated and most responsive firms. And 4, direct the city engineer to report to the board with recommendations for executing the negotiated contract with each of the selected contractors. And we turn it back to you again, Mr. Smith.
Thank you, President Garcia. As all of you are aware, these contracts are instrumental in us performing the work, especially during emergency times like we had with the significant rains in January and February. With the utilization of these contracts, we were able to construct 2 new projects along Mulholland Drive, which was enabled the city to reopen Mulholland Drive, those 2 locations, in less than a month. We are currently working on other emergency projects. We just awarded the emergency project on one of them. We have 2 we're working on in Crescent Drive. One was awarded last week. We were going to award another one soon, and then we have another one on Escondido in Sunset Plaza Place. There's also another one on Sueno Road. So these contracts have been very important in us for responding to emergencies and getting work done in an expedited manner. So we're here today to request the authority to send out the request for notifications, request for qualifications, and to negotiate contracts with the proposed bidders. The current emergency on-call geotechnical structural contract services contracts for the public works projects, they are administered by the city engineer as authorized by your board on February 25th, 2019. The current contracts will expire on March 28th, 2024. And as I just mentioned, these projects have been very beneficial and successful in resolving situations that do mandate immediate attention and have helped the city avoid unnecessary delays that threaten public safety, health, and the environment and cause property damage. The Bureau of Engineering is requesting the authority to develop and pre-qualify a new list of emergency on-call geotechnical structural contractors to be used for urgent necessity and emergency work as necessary to protect public and private property and ensure public health and safety. Upon the adoption of this report by the board, the proposed RFQ will be advertised on the City of Los Angeles Regional Alliance Marketplace procurement site, RAMP, and via a notice to advertise, which will be placed in a local publication. The RFQ and its attachments will be available for download from anybody interested in proposing on this to be on this list. Interested proposers will have to submit a statement of qualifications, and the statement of qualification will be evaluated on the response and compliance with the RFQ and its requirements. The new emergency on-call geotechnical structural contractors list will have a duration of 5 years. As I've already mentioned, these contracts require contractors to mobilize necessary personnel and equipment in an expedited manner and in some cases emergency manner, which we are requiring them to respond within hours, if not a day or two. So as a result of that, we did request that the Business Inclusion Program outreach requirement, we requested an exemption from that from the CO's office. The CO Office of Procurement granted that request on February 22nd, 23. And in view of these findings, we're also recommending that the board approve the waiver of the BIP outreach requirements for this RFQ. Even with this requirement and this waiver, we will encourage our contractors to reach out to subconsultants with MBE, WBE, SBE, EBE, DVBE, and OBE certifications when time permits and the opportunities are available. The submitted SOQ packages will be reviewed and evaluated by staff from the Department of Public Works. That will include representatives from the Bureau of Engineering and the Bureau of Contract Administration. The SOQ packages will be reviewed per the selection criteria set forth in the RFQ, and they will be evaluated on completeness, compliance with mandatory submittal requirements, including state contractor licenses, bonding and insurance capacity, experience with geotechnical and structural construction, ability to respond to emergencies, and the experience with the city and compliance with city standards. The proposed RFQ has been reviewed and approved by the Office of Contract Compliance and approved as to form by the City Attorney's Office. The required notice of intent to contract form was submitted to the CEO on February 2nd, 2023. On February 14th, 2023, it was determined by the Personnel Department that there were no city classifications capable of doing this work, and a Charter 1022 determination from the CEO was not necessary. The SOQs require a minimum passing score of 70% or higher to be placed on the list, and the city engineer will return to the board, hopefully this fall, to get permission and to seek to establish the new list of qualified contractors based on the evaluation criteria and the SOQs. The contractors to be entered to have no money associated with them. The city funds for individual projects will be encumbered on a case-by-case basis at the time of the urgent necessity or emergency work is identified and prior to award of any specific construction orders. That concludes my presentation. I'm available for any questions. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Smith. Dr. Davis?
Yes, Mrs. Smith, could you help me understand the specific scope of work that we're requesting in this particular item?
The scope of work can vary from repair or new construction of different type of structures, such as, retaining walls, debris walls. We use the emergency on-call contracts to remove some of the lining in the 2nd Street tunnel that started falling a few years ago. So the scope of work can vary from a lot of different things related to geotechnical or structural work. Typically, we use it for erosion control, construction of bulkheads, construction of retaining walls, doing emergency work related to placing sandbags, putting down plastic, protect slope erosions, and a lot of things like that. There's really not a typical type of construction we do. It's a wide range of things that the contractors are expected to be able to be familiar with and be able to perform geotechnical aspects of construction work and structural. Sometimes we also use it for like slope stabilization projects, which can consist of reconstructing slopes or even constructing, putting fabric over slopes to control material from coming down onto the streets. So I don't have a really specific thing, but a lot of variety of different aspects of construction.
So would it be fair to say that this assignment is a request for a situational presentation of a problem that might occur during the construction time, and we want to be prepared with a vendor to be available when that issue occurs? Because of our past experience, these issues have arisen after we start construction. Is that pretty accurate?
Well, that's correct. We want to have the list in place so we can expedite the whole process of getting emergency work and necessity work done in a more timely manner. Without these contracts, for example, the two projects on Mulholland, we probably would still be out there working.
Sure.
To go through the normal process typically takes 3 to 4 months. On those Mulholland repair projects, our team was able to put together designs in 1 to 2 days. We had a 1 to 2 day bid period, and we had a contractor, we had the projects award in less than a week from the initial occurrence of the issues. We couldn't do that without these on-call contracts.
Sure. What is the time period we're talking about on this item before us today in terms of when we expect to have this particular vendor on board?
The current contracts expire in March of 2024, so we're optimistic that we're going to be back before the board to take the next step of moving forward with getting the contracts in place. We hope to have the new contracts in place late this year or early next year to give us a little bit of overlap before the contracts expire. As soon as we can get the new contracts in place, we would start utilizing them for new work and then let the old contracts expire.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Yep, thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Davis. I know Ted Jordan wants to make a clarification.
Yeah, just an example of the type of project through a construction order that can be done from the on-call list that this request for qualifications will generate is the item that we had before us on number 2. So this request for qualification will invite solicitations, statements of qualification from a variety of firms. They will be evaluated, and then from that, a list of pre-approved contracts will be awarded. So it's not any one project, not any one contractor. And then that list will be used for the city to be able to immediately respond when these types of projects arise. The item that we had at number 2 is from the current list that is set to expire. And I'm going to look over to Patrick, who will correct me if I'm wrong.
That's correct. It's from the current list, and that's another example of the Balboa project we just talked about, item 2. That wasn't a budgeted project. That's why there was a council motion in August after the situation developed that we were brought in, and the council motion was done, and we started working on it right away, and we're still working with other people in the city to get the funding in place, which we hope to have very soon.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you to our city attorney as well for clarifying some of that. I have Vice President Villegas and then Commissioner Reyes.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for your report. Just have a quick question. You will be soliciting for this service, and I see that our current list has about 11 consultants on it. So just wanted to see if what you were doing, other than RAMP, to solicit, other firms to be able to participate.
We'll work with our Project Award and Control Division. Hoping we get approval today. We've already have been working with them this morning to get them to advertise it as soon as possible. With the board, if the board approves it today, we will get it up on RAMP today, and then they will reach out with what they'll reach out. If you would like, we could reach out to some of the contractors we're aware of. We currently have an active list that we could reach out to all of them, just to let them know when it's coming out, if you would like. We did reach out to them, just a little side note, we did reach out to them early in January to let them kind of give them all the heads up that we had these emergency projects coming, and encouraging them to propose on them. It gives us more options. By being able to do an expedited design and going out to a whole list, we get competitive bids, which is beneficial to the city, instead of just going out to the top of the list. That's why we did go that route. But we will advertise in a publication. I don't know specifically what publication our Project and Award Control Division will post it in, but it will go up on RAMP right away, and then in that publication. And like I said, I'm more than willing to reach out to the current list if you'd like.
My intent in asking the question was just to solicit others to also participate and to be a partner to city business. I just have one more question. I know that when we do these lists, we do a ranking for them, but I see that some of the folks that are on our list, don't have, they haven't had a task to be able to do some of that work. So I'm just wondering, if you have any reasoning why we have, about 4 firms that we've had now for some time that haven't done any work. However, we have other firms that do have continuous work.
Yeah, it's all competitive bid. We have the contractors on the list are not required to submit bids on any individual project. Some of the contractors, it's my opinion, they get on the list to be able to just be on the list in case there's an opportunity to do an emergency work that's like a go to the top of the list assignment. So we do have, like you said, we only have 4 or 5 that have really been relatively active on this current list that went in, was established in March of 2019. So we're 4 years into it, and there are contractors on that list that have not proposed on any work or done any work on the contract.
Yeah, I see that, and just wanting to see what can be done in order to solicit them to participate, or is it that they are bypassing the ability to work?
We can try to do more. We did, like I just mentioned, early in January, we knew there was going to be some emergency projects coming, so we reached out to the whole list to give everybody the kind of the heads up that we were, and we did encourage them in the email to reply and respond. But once again, I do believe there's some contractors that get on the list, just waiting for the opportunity to, where we would go to the top of the list and award a project.
Okay. And then once you get this list, how many years will it be active?
5 years.
Okay. All right. Thank you. That is all.
Thank you.
Thank you, Vice President Villegas. Commissioner Reyes?
So I just want to assume, right, that this is mostly repair, construction, emergency work. And I think this is an opportune time to include in your RFQ the community level contracting provision or policy that we have. So then the contract doesn't come to the board and we keep on asking, is there an opportunity for CLC here? Might as well be proactive and include that in the RFQ so that potential bidders or potential proposers will know what the CLC is, what opportunities are there, and therefore we as the board here would like to see those opportunities open up for these types of project, for small businesses to be able to partake of a big contract, or for that contract to be unbundled in such a way that it will benefit, our smaller businesses who are local, and where we could bring that as part of our workforce development and economic development efforts here in the city as well. So at the start of an RFQ, start of an RFP, already put that CLC policy that we have, so that then they are aware that we are serious in our effort to ensure that we have those targeted businesses in our mind.
I will work with our Division of Project Award and Control. They will be sending out the RFQ, but we will work with them this afternoon to add some wording.
I would appreciate that, and the board appreciates that, of course. Thank you.
Yep, thank you.
Thank you so much, Commissioner Diaz. Well point taken. And I just want to, my question was, when are you planning to open this RFQ?
Right now, the SOQs per the notice are due on June 21st. Let me
Yes.
verify that.
June 21st, 2 PM.
Okay. Thank you.
I'm just seeing it here. And there's also a non-mandatory Zoom meeting Tuesday, May 9th.
Correct.
Okay, got it. So folks can start reaching out after today, I imagine?
Yeah, I'll work with our Project Award and Control Division to get the RFQ revised, and as soon as we get that revised, we'll send it out, hopefully yet this week, and then that'll give the potential proposers, about 6 weeks?
That's good, thank you.
Yep, thank you.
All right.
President Garcia.
Sure.
I just want to add, if we could amend our recommendation today to include that CLC provision so that we have it on record. Thank you so much.
Ted Jordan, that would not be an issue, right? Or any legal aspect of including the CLC into this RFQ?
No, I don't think so. Just, unlike some of the other work that the board authorizes, since a lot of this is reactive to what the project is, and Mother Nature has defined the scope of that, it may be a little bit more impractical to do that versus, say, a street improvement project where we have a lot of flexibility to, break it into more of the community-level contracting packages. I will note, however, though, that the city's the city's local business bid preference program has been amended, and so now it specifically includes an additional local bid preference, which is points added to the score, for those contractors who are local small businesses, not just local businesses, but local small. And I believe there's also a provision that allows subcontracting or subconsultants to be taken into account. So there's some extra benefit to be added for those folks who are submitting their statements of qualification to get an additional preference or points added to their score when they can show that they meet the qualification as a local small business, or there's a provision for transitional employers.
Correct.
And so there is a lot there's more that can be done now. But I can work with the Bureau to ensure any additional language is put into the RFQ, and it doesn't create any legal issues for us at this stage.
Definitely appreciate that, Jordan, Ted Jordan, on that. So for the purpose of today, would we have to add the amended language that includes community-level contracting?
You can just add that as a motion, and that's fine.
Okay.
I don't actually know specifically what that language is, but with that direction, that's sufficient to
Okay.
have the BOE, work within the department to add whatever language is necessary to accomplish
Perfect,
that.
and you will take a look to all the legality measures
course.
to make sure that we're under all the parameters we have to be under.
Of course. I mean,
Okay.
we're at the very first part of the stage here. We don't actually have proposed contracts in front of us.
Yes, thank
There's
you.
nothing that
This-
needs to be renegotiated with a contractor, so
Perfect.
this is the time to add things to the RFQ.
Okay, so what I can do is have a fifth recommendation saying to amend and add the community-level contracting component to this RFQ. And I'm probably not saying the right words, Dr. Campos?
Yeah, President Garcia, Fernando Campos, Executive Officer. You can definitely add a new recommendation as number 5, or you can simply amend recommendation number 1 after transmitted RFQ. So recommendation 1 can read, authorize the city engineer to advertise and issue the transmitted RFQ as revised to include the CLC community level contracting provisions for the purposes of establishing. So we can always insert the amendment on recommendation number 1. It'll capture the same thing, or if your board would like, you can make it a separate recommendation, and that would be recommendation number 5 to include the CLC provisions. Either option will get you to the same place.
I think I feel comfortable adding a fifth recommendation.
Okay.
Unless there are any objections from my colleagues? Okay, and the fifth recommendation will read adding the assessment, a revised RFQ, adding the community level contracting provision. Does that make sense?
Yes, so
Okay.
recommendation number 5 would be to instruct the city engineer to include the community level contracting provisions into the RFQ.
Correct. Any objections? Okay, seeing none, we will vote as is with the fifth recommendation. And is there a motion on the table to move this item forward and forthwith?
So move.
Thank you, Commissioner Reyes. Is there a second? Thank you, Dr. Davis. Dr. Campos, there's a first by Commissioner Reyes and a second by Dr. Davis to move item number 3 forward and forthwith as amended.
Absolutely. Let's start the voting tabulation. We'll start with you, President Garcia,
Aye.
Vice President Villegas,
Aye.
President Pro Tem Davis, Commissioner Corzan,
Aye.
and Commissioner Reyes.
Aye.
This motion is adopted and carries unanimous.
Great. Thank you very much.
Thank you,
Mr. Smith,
everyone. Have a
we
good
just
day.
gave you more work, but it's good work.
It's okay, we'll get it done. Thank you.
We will.
Have a good day,
Thank you so
everyone.
much. Have a good rest of the day.
Thank you.
All right, colleagues, moving on to item number 4. This is a request from Bureau of Engineering and LADOT, Department of Transportation. Is that the team of Department of Transportation? Welcome to our chambers, if DOT is here. This is a budget increase and change orders, Highway Safety Improvement Program, Cycle 6, Projects 1, 2, and 4. Recommending the board to authorize $1,500,000 in additional contingency and approve a revised construction budget of $6,449,015. $6,449,120.15. And 2, authorize the general manager of the Los Angeles Department of Transportation to issue change orders to KDC Inc., doing business as Dyna Electric, necessary to complete the project. Funding for the additional contingency has been identified in Fund Number 100, Department 54, Appropriation Unit Number 00V815 and 3. Authorize the general manager of the Department of Transportation to correct or revise funding sources after award to maximize grant reimbursements by making changes to respond to fund transfers and funding appropriations and allocations, including future fiscal year funding, without additional board approval for such changes, as long as the total budget, including contingency as authorized by the board, is not to exceed. Direct the general manager of the Department of Transportation to proceed the funding adjustments with a formal memo to the board. And this morning, we have Mr. Tran here.
Yes.
Good morning, sir. Are you with Department of Transportation?
Yes, I am, ma'am.
Okay, welcome very much. Welcome, sir. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Madam President Garcia, and good morning, Commissioners. My
Can
name
you
is-
speak into the mic?
Oh, can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Okay. Thank you very much, Madam President Garcia, and good morning, Commissioners. My name is Wee Tran with Department of Transportation, part of the Safety Improvement Program. I also have part of the Construction Management Team, Alfonso Ramirez, with me to my right. I'm here to present the board report. On June 16, 2020, the board awarded a contract to KDC, also doing business as Dyna Electric, in the amount of $4,499,214, with a contingency of $449,920.01 for a total approved construction budget of $4,949,120.15 to construct this project. The project will install new traffic signals and upgrade existing signals with left turn phasing at 14 intersections throughout the city of Los Angeles, including upgrading curb ramps and street lighting. The project is currently 65% complete. It has already surpassed the original contract duration and is anticipated to be completed by the end of September 2023. During the construction of this project, staff determined that the amount of contingency originally secured would not be sufficient to cover the additional work needed to meet American Disabilities Act ADA requirements associated with newly developed city access ramp standards. The new access ramp standards were being developed at the same time as the project design plans were being finalized. Due to the funding deadlines, the design plans had to be finalized without incorporating the new standards. However, it was determined that the new ADA standards needed to be implemented during construction. These new standards required extensive and costly grind and overlay work in the street. This work requires the contractor to develop and implement traffic control plans for the associated lane closures for the 52 access ramp locations. Furthermore, the contractor is only allowed to work at one corner at a time due to the traffic circulation and safety concerns. Because this work was not included in the design plans nor was part of the bid package, the contractor has and will be submitting change orders to address these design changes. Based on initial change orders, staff has estimated that additional work not to exceed $1.5 million. That concludes the board report.
Thank you so much, Mr. Tran. Any questions, colleagues? Vice President Villegas and then Dr. Davis?
Thank you. Just a quick question. Is this you're asking for just an approval for additional contingency? And will this company be needing any other funds, or is this what you see of it now? Is this it?
We believe this is it. We have negotiated with them and also we did a couple of test locations to see if there's going to be any additional need. At this time, we believe this should be sufficient to complete this project.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Thank you so much. Dr. Davis?
Wanted to explore the occurrence of the initial proposal that the vendor made. When he or they initially applied for the job, they forgot to enter those standards in their design. Is that correct?
Can you repeat that one more time?
When the vendor submitted their original proposal, didn't you say that he forgot to put or implement those standards in his proposal presented to us?
Yes, so when we initially brought this project out to construction, there were some design changes. What happened is the standards for ADA was being updated. So we were not able to incorporate those changes when we initially went out because we had some funding deadlines. So when we went out to construction, we were aware that there was going to be some changes in this contract. We were not aware it was going to go way beyond our contingency.
So basically, in our call for the proposals, we did not indicate the new standards in that. Is that correct?
That is correct, because we didn't have the updated standards yet. They were still developing them at that time.
Okay, and so since that time, this has occurred, and this is the reason for the presentation today.
That is correct.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Can you clarify for me recommendation number 3? I understand that we want to let the general manager of the transportation correct and revise funding sources or what. Can you tell me the extent of what you guys are seeking on recommendation number 3?
That was a recommendation by the BOE executives, and we did try to ask our accountants to see if that's going to be an issue. We're not aware of any issues, but that was a recommendation by BOE executives.
Oh, those BOE executives, who are they? We don't really like the delegation of items like this, but I understand it's a 1.5 million that we're discussing. That would be the total amount?
That is correct.
Yeah. Is there a reason why this was a recommendation or what it was added? Other than just making sure that you guys do the proper change of funding and transfers?
I do not know exactly why they added that, but for funding perspective, we identified all the account numbers that we would be using for this particular project. So moving forward, if we were to make any payments, those are the account numbers that we'll be using to pay for this.
I see. Are we in some time of a time frame, I imagine, right?
Yes.
Okay. That makes it better.
Yeah. So currently what happened is we're waiting for this so we could continue with the work that's out there.
Correct. And I heard you say the work will be done sometime in September of this year.
Yes, it would be
Okay,
completed
so
by yes.
I see the necessity to be able to change funds or funding appropriations and not come to the board of a time perspective, right?
All right,
Okay.
thank you.
Just answered my own questions, but
Thank
just
you.
wanted to make sure I was getting all the right information here. Okay, colleagues, any objections on item number 4? See none. Is there a motion on the table to move item number 4 forward and forthwith?
So moved.
Thank you, Dr. Davis. Is there a second?
Second?
Thank you, Commissioner Corson. Dr. Campos, there's a first by Dr. Davis and a second by Commissioner Corson to approve item number 4.
Absolutely. Let's start the voting tabulation. Let's start with you, President Garcia,
Aye.
Vice President Villegas,
Aye.
President Pro Tem Davis, Commissioner Corzine,
Aye.
and Commissioner Reyes.
Aye.
This motion is adopted and carries unanimous. Madam Chair, would you like to consider this item to go forward forthwith?
Yes, please.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Tran.
Thank you,
Thank you,
everybody.
sir, to both of you, and have a good rest of the day.
Thank you.
I'll be looking for that memo, though. Item number 5, this is a request from the Bureau of Sanitation and the Bureau of Contract Administration in all council districts. Revised personal service contract, Clean Harbors Environmental Service, Inc., Hazardous Waste Services. Recommending the board to, 1, revise the personal service contract with Clean Harbors Environmental Services, Inc., which was approved by the Board of Public Works on March 8, 2023, to add Section 15.8 to the contract to protect the tax-exempt status of bonds issued by the city. Inclusion of this language is at the direction of the city attorney and the city administrative office. And 2, approve and forward this report and transmittals to the mayor and city council with the request that the Board of Public Works be authorized to execute a personal service contract with Clean Harbors for Task A, Residential Special Materials Program, and Task B, Hazardous Waste Routine and Emergency Field Services. And this morning we have, I know Ms. Benson is here, and Mr. Park. Good morning to both of you and welcome.
Good morning. Good morning, President Garcia and commissioners and division representatives. I'm John Park from Solid Resources Citywide Recycling Division. I'm presenting a revision to the household hazardous waste and hazardous waste contract that the board approved on March 8. After the board approved the contract with Clean Harbors, the city agreed to bond finance the upgrades and improvements to the existing safe centers. It was determined that the new contract with the Clean Harbors should include safe harbor clause protecting the tax-exempted status of the bond issued by the city. The CAO and city attorney have advised LA San on this matter, and LA San added the language to the LA San contract in Article 15, which is 15.8. Clean Harbors agrees to these revisions. I'm happy to answer any of your questions.
Thank you so much. I got caught up reading on part of your board report here. Any questions, colleagues? Mr. Attorney, do you want to give us just a slight clarification of how this came back to our board?
No, the staff report is, I have no issues with it. The written report, this item, the contract itself was already before you. It's been approved by the board. It's a big contract, no doubt. Because of the financing change, the bond financing, our bond counsel has recommended this additional language we put in. So that's why it's back before you, because that language wasn't when it was before you. So with the board's approval today, it will essentially continue in the approval process, which means it gets approved by the mayor under ED3, and then it goes to the city council for approval. We just needed to have the board make this change to the contract before it gets those other approvals.
Okay, understood. I don't see any questions, any objections? Seeing none, is there a motion on the table to approve item number 5 forward and to move item number 5 forward and forthwith?
So moved.
Thank you, Commissioner Reyes. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Dr. Davis. Dr. Campos, there's a first by Commissioner Reyes and a second by Dr. Davis to approve item number 5.
Yes, let's start the voting tabulation. We'll start with you, President Garcia,
Aye.
Vice President Villegas,
Aye.
President Pro Tem Davis,
Aye.
Commissioner Korzan,
Aye.
and Commissioner Reyes.
Aye.
This motion is adopted and carries unanimous. Thank you.
Great, thank you very much. We really need this contract, so let's keep going with it. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, colleagues, this is item number 5. Moving on to item number 6, this is an AFE for South Coast Air Quality Management District. Bureau of Street Services and Office of Accounting are requesting board approval and execution of an authority for expenditure in the amount of $2,800, new adjusted amount of $34,800, to encumber additional funds to cover invoices related to the annual operating and emissions fees and permits associated with asphalt plants and other facilities. And this morning here we have, I think you're going to have to, I don't have your name here, so introduce yourself, sir.
Yes, good morning, Commissioners. Good morning, President Garcia. My name is Leo Dominguez with the Engineering Service Division with the Bureau of Street Services. I am accompanied by my colleague Michael Marquez, who's our Bureau's environmental specialist, who can provide any technical assistance if needed. We are seeking to increase the encumbrance amount of an existing authority for expenditure in the amount of $2,800. This AAV is used to pay the Southern California Air Quality Management District for annual permit renewals, operating and emissions fees associated with our asphalt plants and our Van Norman Recycling Center. Our emission fees have increased slightly since the last calendar year due to a 17% increase in the Bureau's asphalt production and a 6.5% fee rate increase implemented by the Southern California Air Quality Management District. The additional amount will be used to cover these fees. And with that, that concludes my report. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer.
Thank you so much, Mr. Dominguez. I did have your name here. I missed seeing it here, and thank you, sir. Is this your first time presenting to the board?
Yes, it is.
Oh, well, congratulations.
Thank you.
Look, you cleared the room.
I know.
All right. Any questions or objections, colleagues? Vice President Villegas?
Thank you. You did a great job. Thank you.
Thank you.
Just a quick question, and you can, if you don't have the answers to this, you can just email us later. I just wanted to know what those emissions were on the asphalt plant. Was it the milling of the asphalt? Was it the, somewhere in the production of it? And which plant was it?
Right. It's from our asphalt plant 1. So Southern California Air Quality Management District has the authority to impose fees. If we go past a certain threshold, then we have to report those emissions and pay those fees. Specifically, they're looking for criteria pollutants, toxic air contaminants, and ozone depleting compounds.
Okay. And so was it with the production of the asphalt?
Correct.
We had exceeded particulate matter?
Yes, correct.
Okay. Okay. And only for asphalt plant 1?
Correct.
Okay. Will you be coming back to the board for the other plants, or is it just for this one?
Just for this.
Okay, thank you. No more questions.
Thank you.
Any other questions, colleagues?
I have one more
Sure,
question.
go ahead.
I'm so sorry. What is that plant number 1? Is that the one in downtown?
Yes. Yeah.
Is that the one that just got redone?
Yeah. In 2019, yes.
Okay, so it's supposed to have the latest technology in comparison to our other plants. Is that correct? It's like the most cleanest, and yet we're getting fined.
It's not a fine per se.
But we're exceeding certain levels, and so we're getting, call it what you will, there is a fee.
Correct.
I'm just making a comment here. I'm not trying to put you on the spot. I would like to just get a report back, or maybe just a call, to delve down deeper into this, because we've spent a lot of money updating that plant for us to be able to still have these, and it still may occur, which these things do happen, but I just want to get a little bit more information, that's all.
Okay. Yeah, I'll look into it, and we can shoot an email over.
Yeah, and I say that just because it's in comparison to our other asphalt plants, that we may or may not be getting these I'm trying to find this fee, not a fine, but a fee for the other plants, and I'm just wondering what those would be in the future if indeed we do get them.
Certainly. Yeah, I know, I don't have the data from previous years, but I do believe that we're paying less emissions than prior.